Okay, what we're going to do today is find some side lengths using these trig ratios. Again, just helpful review here. Sine opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of whatever angle you're looking at is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent of the angle is opposite over adjacent. Remember, SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA is the best way to remember this thing, or a way to remember this thing. Who knows if it's the best. But just learn it, memorize it, you need to know it. Okay, so what we have here are two pretty similar looking problems here. You see how we have 100 here and x here, but in this one we have x here and 100 here? We're going to do them the same exact way. We're going to follow the same process, but it leads to a slightly different situation in the end, and you'll see. So, step one, we got to label our sides. So, from the angle here, that's the angle we care about, we're going to label the sides. Let's start with the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. 100 in this one is the hypotenuse. Okay, then across from the angle we care about is the opposite. That's our x in this case. So we got opposite and hypotenuse. Notice we don't have anything for the adjacent. We're not solving for it. There's no number there, so we don't need to care about it. Basically, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at it and we're going to think, well, which one of sine, cosine, and tangent uses opposite and hypotenuse? Wow, look at that. And as you notice, sine is the only one that uses both opposite and hypotenuse. See how cosine's got adjacent, tangent's got adjacent, but we don't care about adjacent? That's why in this one we're going to use sine for this problem. So, here, let's set it up here. I'm going to set it up. I'll just start really basic with the formula. Sine of the angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So in this case, sine, our angle is 38 degrees, equals the opposite, x, over the hypotenuse, 100. Now, one quick pause here. Have a huge announcement that everybody needs to make before you start doing these. Make sure to put your calculator in degree mode. If it's not in degrees, you're going to run into some real problems. If it says radians, that's going to be an issue for you. So make sure you put your calculator in degrees. Depends on what calculator you have, but usually you can hit something like mode, and then you'll see rad versus deg. You want deg, D-E-G, for degrees. That's the one you're going to want. Otherwise, you're going to get some sort of crazy wrong answer that's not going to work out. So, if you don't know how to do that, just ask me or look it up online. We're in an age of the internet. It's impressive. So, here's how we're going to solve this thing. The way we solve these, and the easiest, works every time way, is if you put this trig ratio over 1 and then cross multiply. So we get 1 times x is 1x, or just x, and then we get 100 times sine of 38. Now, I'm not expecting you to do this in your head. This is where a calculator comes in handy. So you're going to do a 100 times sine of 38, and you get about 61.6. Cool. Now, one way to check this and just make sure you're doing the right thing is, remember, we're looking for the opposite. Opposite has to be smaller than the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the longest side. So 61 smaller than 100, real quick check. Good. Okay, great. All right, let's do this other problem. Same exact process. So we're going to go 38's our angle. X is the hypotenuse. 100's the opposite. Because we have the same angle position, the same side positions will be there too. And let's just start setting this thing up. So we got sine of the angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. Remember, again, we pick sine because sine is the only one that uses both opposite and hypotenuse, and that's what we care about and what we have in this example. And then what we're going to do is sine of 38 equals the opposite is 100 over the hypotenuse, x. So you see how it's just the reciprocal of what we were dealing with before. But we're going to solve it the exact same way. So the same exact way, we're going to do sine of 38 over 1. Then we're going to cross multiply. We get 100 times 1 is 100. And then we get sine of 38 times x. Well, that's just sine of 38 times x. Now, this looks weird, right? Because like there's letters, there's numbers, who knows? This is just a number. If you type it into a calculator, you get a number out of this thing. So what we can do to get x by itself, which is the goal here, is just divide by sine of 38. That'll cancel it out from this side. If we do something to one side, we got to do it to the other. So we get about, calculator time, 162.4. And I just did that by typing in 100 divided by sine of 38. If you got something different, remember, put your calculator in degree mode. So, step 1, label your sides. Step 2, pick which ratio you're looking for. Step 3, plug in your values. Step 4, cross multiply. Forgot to put that little line there, but cross multiply. And then step 5, just simplify what you have. So you might need to multiply. You might need to divide in the end. I'll give you a hint here. If the x is on top, you're going to just multiply. If the x is on the bottom, you're going to end up dividing.